it's funny, like the way that life processes and like the things that you go through to get to where you are. And I've realized that I'm in love with the art of conversation. And I think that is something that we are so lacking right now. I think everybody feels so connected and yet so disconnected. We don't have enough time to see our friends. We don't have enough time to talk and relate. And so I think this is a really nice way. We've got some beautiful women in here today that I'm so happy. And you guys don't know each other that much, which I think is, this is a different one. So I think it'll be interesting to see how you feel in the end and if you feel like you know each other pretty well. So
Sounds good.
we are all in business. Everybody in this room has a business, and marketing has become probably more important than ever with regards to our business success. The old school ways are dead, or dying, or people are walking away from them. And video and podcasting and all these unique kind of methods are now in. Romy, what do you think, like, what do you do to stand apart from the competition in today's world of marketing?
Well, I don't have the answers down pat right now, but I moved from Chicago about 3 years ago, so I had to start from scratch, which was a very interesting experience in Chicago. It was all about connections. I didn't do any marketing. It was connecting with the right people, and it just grew organically. So I was trying to replicate that when I moved here. And it was interesting. The first year I did a lot of networking. I went to a lot of networking groups and, just sort of threw everything at the wall. And by year 2, I started to realize that you got to know what you want to give and then just connect with the people that it makes sense with. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. So last year, I really put an effort into just connecting with the right groups and the right people and just nurturing that versus just going after everything. And so it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But it's just being smarter about time and where you're using it and the kind of networking you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of advertising. Again, with my business, I feel that it's just about making the connections.
That's an interesting piece too, because, and I think that's kind of a nice thing for all of us now is like, now there's this whole talk that you don't have to do business with everyone. Like it used to be like this sort of free for all that you felt like everybody was supposed to be your customer. Yeah. And now we're at this point where it's very much word on the street that you're supposed to work with who you're supposed to work with. There's a little bit of relief in that, for me at least, because I think it doesn't make it so open. Chi, you are marketing a product, and that is vastly different than marketing a service. How do you stand out?
Well, so we have a product, but I'm marketing a brand. And so therein lies the difference, because I can have several products, but the brand, those products have to live up to the brand and the position I want to own in the minds of my consumer. So for me, my brand is very, it's female forward. I'm very intentional about the consumer and the target audience that I'm trying to reach. And I'm probably not for everybody. And that's okay. That is okay. And so I try to be really true to what our brand represents, which is about female empowerment, giving back, health and wellness. And so things that really ladder up to that is what I focus on. Mm-hmm. Our product is a vehicle for what we represent. And so because, when people talk about not commoditizing brands, that's because sometimes they focus a little bit too much on product. But in the food and beverage space, which is where I am, ultimately you do have to also feature and talk about your product. But I think there's a time and a place for that and a life cycle for that. So at the store level, for instance, or on our website, we'll then get into benefits and features of purple tea. Whereas if I'm trying to get you into the fold and build out my tribe and who I believe is our follower and our consumer, I may talk to you about something that's important to you, like hopefully helping women in health and wellness, whatever that might be. So it's challenging because you're doing branding, you're marketing a brand, but then you're also marketing a product. So you're trying to figure out which medium, when it's the most appropriate to talk about brand and lifestyle, and getting like sort of the folks in your sphere, right? Once you get them in the sphere, what are they going to really be interested in? Are they interested in the antioxidant level, or are they interested in the giving back piece? And so then you kind of have to peel back the onion and then start talking about some of those other things that might be important to consumers. So it's much more complicated, for sure.
It's crazy to even think about the amount of time and attention just to get to where you can market anything, right?
Yes, tell me about it. You always have to start with the consumer. I mean, you always have to start with who you believe is your target audience, and you have to make some assumptions around them, but then you have to do a ton of research about what they value, what makes them buy a product as opposed to not buying a product. So based on that is just how you determine really your messages and your brand identity. To be quite honest, is all centered around that person you're trying to get. Which is a lot of work.
I'm thinking about it right now. Jeez.
But it can be done. I mean, there are people out there that help you. Tons of information out there. I sound so old when I say this, but with the invention of the internet, I mean, it's like there's so much information that you can get, and secondary research and primary research, and you can get there. But it's just about figuring that out first.
It's you bring the internet up, and I was actually having this discussion yesterday, which is, I think we're all pretty much in the same age bracket, I think, in here, and we're all coming from the same era where
22.
Yeah, 22 for the 20th time. But I think that for us, we totally get the internet, we understand it, we know how to use it, but we don't really know how to use it the way that our children know how to use it, the way that this next generation. And so as business is shifting for us, and it is, the way we do business, all of us, the way we market our business, and you and I have had that discussion before, it's all changing. But we're having to learn all of this information at the same time. Thank God for the internet that it has. You can use it as a mentor. There's mentors out there. But it's tough to be learning it as you're growing your business at the same time. But mentoring has been a big place that I've used the internet in. Like, I'm almost like educating myself by ways of all these educators that use online methods. Adriana, I know you've had a big mentor in your life. Talk about who's your mentor and what it's meant to you in growing your business, because I know that's personal.
My business started actually many years ago by my mentor, my father. And talk about shifting, your time frame and growing with your business. What's been so amazing is I see our business go from version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and every day I feel like a chameleon because I immerse myself in the brand and the sphere and the culture of each client. But that being said, I've had to shift my mindset with time passing and as we've evolved, whether it is in the way we market and brand. I very much understand that concept. And it's interesting because I have been shifting throughout the time. I have to focus what is our original mindset and how did we start. And I always go back to my mentor. I'm like, what would he have done? Some principles hold true. And you have to adhere to that. You always have to stay true to your business. Even though your business model might shift with the times, your core values of your company stay the same, and of your brand, whether it's a PMS color that you've chosen to identify. Even when you rebrand and create a logo, you'll see a lot of these marketing companies always try to stay true to the original, to the core. And I do the same thing with my business model. I go think of my father. I'm like, what would he have done? Of course, many things I want to do different, and he respects and supports. But you always have to go back to your past so you can reshift and refocus, and so your future can evolve, taking that into account.
Yeah. Jen, you have a similar mentor.
Yes.
I don't know. I wonder who. I know you would say one. Who is your mentor? I know one person I know.
Right.
But who have been the mentors in your life, and what have they meant to you?
Well, I mean, my dad and I are very, very close. So I have, my father's a mentor and your father is a mentor, and we do real estate together. But I think we're very different. I mean, we're very different in the way we approach business. But he is definitely always like a fallback person. But he's, my dad's old school. So in old school, we make phone calls. We actually connect with people. And I think when we have so much social media and we have so much information, we have texting and, sometimes I get messages from people in 3 different places, like in my Facebook message or on my text message or on my email. And I'm like, where was that message from that person? But really, I think we're finding out today within marketing, even, I do real estate too. So it all kind of comes down to the same thing as building a business and building a brand is we got to go back to the old school and make a phone call. We are losing, like you said at the beginning, we're losing our connection with people and humans where I can send you a text and say, hey, how are you doing? But it would be nothing like me calling and saying, how are you doing? And actually making that personal connection. So getting back to the grassroots of how business was started and how it was created is important, like making the phone call instead of sending out just a random message. I can send 20 messages at one time.
Totally.
I think people are afraid of spending the time to do it because they've got so many things to do during the day, but there's so much that's lost by not having that conversation.
Yeah.
There's so much more that could come out of it.
Right. Well, we don't have enough time to type all of that.
Right.
How am I doing? That's a loaded question. You really want me to type all that?
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I think you mentioned our age, and without disclosing our age, above 22,
Yes.
I really
You guys,
feel
maybe.
I really feel comfortable in my skin now. Personally,
Totally.
but more so professionally. So I'm not embarrassed to say some of the old school things that my mentor implemented are really valid and still hold true.
Right.
Other things, I agree with you. I do things completely different, and I'm proud of that, and I'm happy for the support that I get. But I'm also not ashamed to say that I like to pick up the phone. And with some of my employees or somebody who maybe is of a different generation, I teach them. I value human contact and the time. Your clients really appreciate it when they know that you've given them, we're all so busy, they appreciate your time.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah,
And,
I would agree. I've focused a lot on advertising this last year. I got a new website, and I've really kind of, explored the different advertising opportunities. I'm an event planner, and so, really for me, for sure, the connections, because I've done some advertising, I've done some print ads, which is super ancient, but there are still some, wedding publications and things like that you can put an advertisement in. But I have found networking. So it's a literal translation. When I network and when I go meet with, different people from hotels and sit down and have a lunch, it translates into an event.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a direct correlation for me. So for me, it's, there's some businesses that are 100% Google driven, and that's not mine, you know. So
they're fishing for more leads. It's a different for you. You'd rather have the right leads from the beginning. You get to work them.
Yeah.
And I think in the state that we're in, and you spoke about so beautifully about where we are in our age. I would never go back. Jenny and I had this discussion when she was here last time. Right. I would never go back. I'm completely happy with where I'm at. It's got its challenges. It's other unique challenges that we're in the midst of. But from my headspace, like you're saying, and from the confidence and all that stuff, Jen, name a time where your gut, because we women have gut and intuition, and that's something I'm like, it's like, whoa, I can feel something, and it comes out of nowhere sometimes. Learning to go with that, where your gut and your intuition led you the right way, or not following it led you the wrong way, because it goes both ways.
I mean, it's interesting because my husband is not a party planner and does not have a party planner brain at all. We are very, very opposite. And so when he comes home from work, you know, I don't say, "What did you do today, honey?" Because I know it's computer coding, so he can. It's like, oh, don't even try to explain. But when I come home from work, I did, you know. So every single day at work is a little bit different. And he really likes hearing my stories and hearing about, oh, well, I had this one challenge. And he's like, which party is that? You know, so I kind of explain. And there's been a few times where, you know, I've made decisions because I'm looking at the big picture. And you know, in the long run, there's decisions that I have to go with my gut and say, you know what, I might not be making a profit off of this. I might be pouring a lot of time in this, but it's worth it to me because in the long run, I'm going to have a happy client. And there's no dollar amount that I can put on that, you know? And so sometimes I have to forego a profit or forego some time to fix something. And that's usually always my gut driving those kind of decisions, and I don't ever regret those decisions, you know.
Be a good referral too. I mean, you think it doesn't make you money on that one transaction or whatever, but I mean that person would definitely refer you, so you don't know what could come out of that.
Oh yeah, because I mean, if you can imagine, if you're planning an event, there's going to be a problem. I mean, there's a guarantee there's going to be a problem over a 1 or 2 year period of time. And it's how you fix those problems and how you tackle them that I think, you know, that's the impression that's left in the long run, you know.
Your business is additionally challenging because your reputation is on the line every single time you show up. And that is, you know, and I think same is true in real estate. You know, you're kind of like, the market might be crappy, but if the house doesn't sell, it's still your fault. Like, I understand it. It's difficult. But so knowing what your brand message is, which is at the end of the day, I want a happy client. That's a number one. And whatever I need to do to get there, you know, back to what she was saying is
I'm only
important.
as good as my last party.
You were going to say something.
Well, and everybody at your party has to have a good time and a good outcome. So,
It's a 4-hour commercial.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
It's funny, you started out with saying that women are very intuitive and use their gut, and it's so true. I mean, sometimes and this is not a man or a woman thing, but, you know, because mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
In what you do and what I do, I think to me what's important is how you react to them and how do you follow up with your customer to make it better. But it's funny because, you know, my gut always says, oh, you have to do that. But then there are certain situations where I will say, okay, we need to send an extra amount of product to this person because this thing happened. But then someone will come to me and say, well, okay, so the numbers don't really support for us to do that. And I'm like, I don't care. Let's send them an extra whatever it is. Let's make it right, because at the end of the day, it'll come back to us twofold, and those numbers will show up. So it's so true. I mean, you have to kind of take care of.
It's hard to balance that though. Like,
sure,
in your business especially, I would think, but like balancing between giving too much, which we all give. Like, I think we also, sometimes women entrepreneurs maybe don't know when not to give too. We give, and knowing when to draw the line. I mean, that in itself is a lesson.
Oh yeah, no, we have very complicated modeling that happens with the numbers, and sort of like, you know, when we negotiate certain deals with certain customers and retailers, like I say, okay, so if this is what the requirements are to get on shelf, fantastic. I'll meet your requirements, but what I'd like for you to do for me is knowing that it's a win-win if this thing comes off the shelf, is in the second month you'll buy X amount. And so then we kind of negotiate and work through that together. So it's you have to always think about yourself and how you're going to also win in the marketplace, because if not, you're not going to be sustainable. But it is a balance, and you have to do that, and you kind of have to work out those scenarios either on paper or in your head or whatever that is.
I bet.
And at the end of the day, make sure.
I'm looking at Adriana going, and I know you deal with that too.
I mean,
because you're dealing with product as well.
All the time.
Yeah.
And basically my motto is everybody's your friend when everything goes right, but let's see who's standing when everything goes wrong.
That's definitely real estate too.
When I pitch a new client, I never pitch perfection. because just like what you said, there's not one single order. Forget 2 years. There's not one single order where we don't have to troubleshoot. So what I tell my new clients, or when I'm pitching a new project, I say, we will stand by you and we will troubleshoot. And perfect example, I have a few orders going on in China right now, and everybody has to be on hold because the factories didn't open after Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
So I've had to go back. Unfortunately, everybody's been very understanding, but some people have deadlines. So we're trying to source, either domestically, find another solution. We're just, every day, it's more about hand holding. I don't sell product. I sell us. Yeah. I sell service. Mm-hmm. It's not the commodity. Yeah, that's a vehicle, as you mentioned, for what we do. Mm-hmm. But our brand is the full package. It's how your brand is going to look at the end, your project, whatever the case might be, start to finish. And if it's seamless, then all the better. We all break out the champagne a little bit sooner.
You're solving problems.
That's true.
All day.
For your customers.
Constantly.
But that's what you're doing, and that's the value you're providing. I mean, I don't want to have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, if it's like, hey, can I get some monogrammed ice cubes? I don't want to know about the problems. I don't want to know about China not being able to produce. So you solve my problems because you take away, the pain and the time. And so that's the value. And I think people really appreciate that.
And to tie it all in, it takes maturity to get there.
Yeah.
I'll never forget 10 years back, troubleshooting was a much different experience. And also, you know when to shut off. Even if there's a crisis, which we've all had, and I'm thinking to myself, well, there goes that client. Even if you lose the client, even if you don't, whatever the outcome is, you learn how to shut off. Because if you're so anxious, then you can't play that role for that client. You need to be the calm person. You need to hold their hand. You need to be the zen so that they can worry about what their job is, their job is, their job is. Your job is to take care of your client.
That comes with experience too.
Yeah.
Is to be able to know, I've been here before. Here's how we overcome it. It takes a lot of experience to get used to
Definitely
imperfection.
And the words "I got you" go a long way. They feel you got me.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree that the age and experience is crucial because, at my age and how long I've been doing this, I know there's a plan B. Like, there's always a plan B.
Right.
And many times it's better than plan A. Sometimes it really does wind up being better in the long run. But just having that experience that I've been through crisis before, I've fixed it, it's okay. The party will go on. The guests won't know. Maybe me and my client are the only ones that know. It's going to be okay. And just knowing that I can find a plan B or find a plan C, you kind of approach it with a little bit of calmness,
And your posture, how you posture yourself is, nobody wants to follow somebody who's constantly hysterical or who's, I even say, no one wants to follow someone who's boring, depressed, or, sad all the time, or nervous and uptight, is especially for an event that, maybe happens once in a lifetime. These people are there to have a good time. Your posture is 100% representative of your brand. People want to have you on their team or on their side because they know you're going to always maintain your posture.
Yeah. I think that there's a time where you stop being defensive and being on the defensive and trying to defend, which if you think about it, you haven't done it before, so you're trying to defend your reputation, you're trying to defend your that you're supposed to be there, and then you get to the offensive at some point where you're like, all right, shit's gonna go down, just is, but here's where I'm gonna be prepared for it and how I'm gonna deal with it. But I don't know, it happens one day. I don't know how it happens one day.
For me, I think probably the biggest difference, because I've been in the business since I was 23, so I've literally
grown up in it.
I'm grandmothering into it at this point. And so I really think that for me, probably the biggest difference is that offense defense thing, because now, as opposed to when I was a kid, if there's a problem, whatever my biggest problem, because there's a problem every day. So whatever the biggest problem of the day is, I want to tackle it at 8:15. I cannot wait to take care of that biggest problem. I want it out of the way, and I approach it like that. And when I have a big problem, because occasionally there's a big problem, okay? I had a venue that went out of business 48 hours after I sent invitations, okay? So it happens, you know? And so for me, like, I would rather just cut to the chase, like, pick up the phone. I don't, beat around the bush. It's like, okay, guess what? We've got a problem. Here it is. Let's just get it out there. Let's talk about it, and then let's come up with a creative solution. So I would much rather do that than avoid the phone call or avoid the that leads to trouble, and that is definitely something that you learn between age 23 and whatever I am now.
22.
That does make a lot of sense, because you say, well, I'm going to put that off, go home, I want to think about it, have a glass of wine before I make this phone call. But, to do it first thing in the morning when your mind is clear.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we learned that all of these things, even we say one day it just clicks when you bring that up. Parenting has a lot to do with that. And I think we've all come to a point where, being a parent and overcoming these obstacles and doing things with grace and, finding a better way. And, because our kids are non-negotiables for us. Our jobs and our careers can be negotiable, but I think we learn a lot with that compassion in our business and building something that we could possibly not have any control over. Our children are perfect reflection of that. So when you get to a certain point in life where you're like, these are my non-negotiables and these are positions that I want to take and I want to be, we grow there.
Totally.
And you want to sleep at night. You want to go to sleep being comfortable with the decisions that you've made, knowing that you're solid, that you've given back to the community or given back to your client or whatever it is you're doing. Right. You want to know that you did it right.
Well, and those things are a choice. I'm going to make the choice to be the best that I can be, and we follow that choice every day. Like, I'm going to do this way from now on. Like, the past is the past. We can't rewrite history.
Right.
We're going to do it this way. And so we get to a certain point where that's just the way we do business.
Absolutely.
That's just the way she does business.
Right. A little bit more talented in a lot of ways. So Brene Brown, and do you guys all know who she is? My mom did not know who she was. Okay. So she is an author. She is like a very renowned author right now. She's very in. She's probably our age. And one of her books was really about the whole effect of vulnerability in our society and people becoming vulnerable. And that was her big takeoff. And she wrote this, you should look her up. You guys would all, she's amazing. But she wrote this little, this little article on her website about like a midlife crisis, right? Like on how women in general are kind of waiting for this midlife crisis, but she redefines it. So I'm just going to read a little bit. I'm interested to hear what everybody has to say. So, as it turns out, I was right about one thing. To call what happens at midlife a crisis is bullshit. A crisis is an intense, short-lived, acute, easily identifiable, and defining event that can be controlled and managed. Midlife is not a crisis. Midlife is an unraveling. By definition, you can't control or manage an unraveling. You can't cure the midlife unraveling with control any more than the acquisitions, accomplishments, and alpha parenting of our 30s cured our deep longing for permission to slow down and be imperfect. Midlife is when the universe gently places her hands upon your shoulders, pulls you close, and whispers in your ear, "I'm not screwing around. All of this pretending and performing, these coping mechanisms that you've developed to protect yourself from feeling inadequate and getting hurt, has to go. Your armor is preventing you from growing into your gifts. I understand that you needed these protections when you were small. I understand that you believed your armor could help you secure all the things you needed to feel worthy and lovable. But you're still searching, and you're more lost than ever. Time is growing short. There are unexplored adventures ahead of you. You can't live the rest of your life worried about what other people think. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Courage and daring are coursing through your veins. You were made to live and love with your whole heart. It is time to show up and be seen. And it goes on. And it goes on. And it starts on. And I'm going to send it to all of you because it's so beautifully written. But I read it. It was in the morning. It's the only time I go on Facebook. It's like right in the morning. Okay, I'll wake up. I'll kind of look and see what's going on Facebook. And one of my friends had posted it. And I read it. And I was like, she?
Yeah.
What do you think about the unraveling as she defined it?
It's funny because, like, maybe I haven't gone through, or I haven't thought about a midlife because I cherish and I'm grateful every year. Mm-hmm. Every time I have a birthday, it's like as you get older, especially as women, people are like, I have another birthday. Don't tell me. So I'm so grateful for the memories, the experiences, the journey, the growth that I've experienced over the last year, or every year, as you have a birthday. So I just view it as a positive. I mean, like every year that we have is just a blessing because we're not promised tomorrow.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. So I just am so grateful for it all. So I just don't look at it like that. I just feel like maybe society has this whole kind of cultural phenomenon around midlife crisis and men who go through a certain thing, women, and what it means for us. We're losing our hair, our looks, or all this stuff. But I'm just like, this is where we should be. I mean, this is it says something about me, and you should value, the experiences that I have, and I could teach you a lot, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Right. So I just don't have a real conventional view of looking at midlife.
My dad, one time, I can't remember, it was maybe about 8-9 years ago, and I'm approaching 50. This will be my 50th birthday in May. And so I've definitely thought a lot about it. But I remember one time kind of complaining about my age, and my father, who's 30 years older than I am, said, it beats the alternative, and I think about that all the time.
Right.
Like, why complain? Is that, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and absolutely, it beats the alternative. I'm just going to embrace it,
Move forward from there.
It's just a number. I still feel like I'm 20. So.
I know, I do too. I say that all the time.
I just can't believe. I mean, when I think of 45, it feels like it's supposed to be old. Even I thought about what 45-year-olds were like.
Yeah.
It's just
when you were younger.
When we were 20, we were like, well,
that's old.
When I'm 45,
Yeah.
I remember saying those same things. I don't feel any different than I ever really have.
I'll tell you what what I feel different about, though, because this is why that meant something to me. It's not so much the wrinkles or the aging or the aging as you would see fit on the exterior for me. I think what has shifted in me lately is rather than being somebody who is constantly looking to please, that's always putting everybody first, that's always, wait, hold on, I can't sit down till 11 o'clock. And believe me, I'm still doing all this, so I haven't figured out the complete solution yet. I'm starting to go, hey, wait, what about me? Like, what about me? Why haven't I thought about my own dreams, or why have I put myself, at the bottom without even recognizing it? And there's a little bit of this reckoning of being like, no, I'm going to stand for who I am now. And so I do think for me there is a shift. It's not so much the no, I know I don't look as good as I used to. I can deal with that. That's fine. I can handle that. But I think this little bit of foot in the sand, you know what? My life is shortening, we don't have the promised days, and I've got to figure out what it is that's going to make me me, and not make me a little bit for you and a little bit for you and a lot for you. And I think as women, a lot of times we're just kind of holding all the pieces together. We're the glue. We keep everything at bay. We're relied upon by so many people, and
I totally agree with that. But I think I had an identity crisis early on, early on, because I knew
that could be a good thing,
right? But I think it is because it speaks to exactly what you're talking about. I am here to do something. Whatever it is that you want to do, that's your thing. But for me, I'm like, I am a mother, I'm a wife, but that's not all I am. And that's not what I'm here for. And that's not, I didn't go to school to just do this. I need to fulfill, and I knew that early on. So maybe when we're talking about midlife, like, I guess I just realized that much earlier, and it helped me put myself first in certain areas, because I know that without me being healthy or of sound mind or doing what I'm passionate about, I'm not going to be a good mom. I'm not going to be a good wife. I'm not going to, all of those things. And so you have to care for yourself and what you want. Otherwise, you're going to fall down on the other things.
Yeah. Just think it's also, not yet, but it's getting on the way to be a more peaceful time. Because, for example, I also never felt the crisis. I did have a career change. I'm doing something completely different than my professional training is. But I still use my past professional life every day, things that I learned, I've translated into the new one. I think it's also kind of being happy where you are. Life is very difficult. So I'm not, throwing clouds in the sky and saying, oh, everything's rose-colored. Right. But it's just being, as I mentioned earlier, being able to go to sleep at night and feel really satisfied. I think for me, it's a piece of the puzzle of everything that you've all said. Being a mom and a wife is hugely important, but being the professional that I am is hugely important. I'm very into giving back to my community. That's also hugely important. So it's almost like this pie. So sometimes different pieces of the pie get more attention, and that's okay. It's learning how to shift, how to say no, how to say yes, how to say when you've had too much. So it's a more peaceful approach rather than a crisis mode,
right?
Is what I feel. And I'm, again, more secure when I'm saying yes or no to something. I know why I'm saying yes or no.
Yeah. The crisis is bullshit. It's an unraveling, she goes on to say, and it never ends, right? So, like, you've built up all of this stuff, and it's unraveling. It's just really kind of shifting into your true self, being at peace, being at calm, and just realize that this is the new you. It's not coming to an end. It's not going to shift and change. You're just going to keep shifting and changing.
Oh, and by the way, talk to any woman and everybody will tell you that their life isn't perfect. And you too? Yeah. I get this all the time now. I'm like, oh, this happened. They're like, and I feel bad about the car or whatever. And they're like, oh, you too? Everybody has this you too feeling now, whereas in your 20s or whatever, everybody's like, oh, everything's perfect. Now we're like, you too? And there's more camaraderie.
Yeah. I think it's important.
I was going to say, I run into people like complete strangers. Like, I almost wanted to Facebook friend this woman that I was trying on high heels with, because we were both like, really? Because we both had an occasion to go to. And, you just befriend these people because you're just like, okay, you're one of me. I got you.
Yes.
I can tell.
You're high-fiving people.
It's so true. So we always end the show, and you guys now know it was a surprise for our first two of these. It's only our third podcast mix-up. There is a question that I'm going to ask you, and just go as deep as you want, whatever it is. But the question is, if you really knew me, you would know that I... And I'm going to start with my little friend here to the left.
Really?
Yes, because I know you can do it.
If you knew me.
If you really knew me.
Or knew you.
Know you.
Oh, okay.
You. If you really knew Jenny from the block. You're not Jenny from the block. That's my other Jenny. If you really knew me, you would know that I...
Oh, my gosh. Well, I think you really know me, but I think... if you really knew me, you would know that I'm a really passionate person. So when I put my mind to something, usually I'm going to be laser focused on that one thing. But I do have to put my mind on that thing. So, I have a lot of things that, I like to do, but when I make my decision, I'm very passionate about that decision, whatever that is. So I think a lot of people that are close to me would probably say that same thing. Well, if I can get Jenny committed, we're 100%. We're going. That's what we're doing. Our goal is going to be reached. But I think probably I'm real passionate about things that I do most of the time.
Rose?
Well, I was actually thinking a little bit about what you had started off the question is what sets you apart. And so I think this kind of leads in. And just from a business perspective or anything, I really try and go the extra way for my clients. I want them to be happy. I want, it's the whole experience, the whole customer service experience. When I photograph something, I don't like to wait months to get them their images. I hold their hands through everything. So, just putting people first and trying to be the best person that I can be and deliver the best that I can deliver.
Very true.
You're a photographer?
Yes.
Oh.
She's an amazing photographer.
Nice to know.
I'm not ready.
We're never ready.
Right.
If you really knew me, which some of you do, you know that I'm a perfectionist. So whatever it is I'm doing gets 100%. So whether I'm doing something with my child, it's 100% in the moment. Whether I'm enjoying some time with my husband, it's 100%. Whether I'm giving back to the community or chairing a volunteer event, it's 100%. Sometimes people say, well, it's not really yours, but I kind of take ownership of everything I do. And obviously, my business is like my baby. So any client, big or small, any volunteer event, big or small, gets 100% of me always.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what's the question? If you really knew me, you would know this.
You know what I.
So if you really knew me, you would know that I don't judge. And so I think that's kind of, part of what makes my business relationships, my friendship relationships, my kids, it's like, you can tell me everything, give me all the nitty gritty. I don't judge. I'm here to help you. I've got your back, no matter what. So give it to me straight, and that I've got your back. And I think the people that are in my kind of inner circle know that, and people get to know that about me, I think, after they get to know me for a while,
And you're pretty funny.
Very funny. I love your Facebook posts.
I guess you have to be with what you do. You have to learn to laugh a lot.
Humor.
Oh,
to
yeah,
have a good
that's the
sense of
most
humor.
fun part about
And
the
you've
whole
probably
job.
seen the craziest things. So.
Oh, yeah.
Can't even
I bet you do
imagine.
have some good stories.
And then the next week, I see something new.
How funny. Can I do two if you really knew me?
Yes, you can do as many as you want.
So if you really knew me, you know that I like gangster rap.
I knew I loved you.
Which is really,
Like, what's
funny because
gangster rap?
people
Like,
will look at me and say, "What?"
Like who?
Oh, I mean, back in the day, I mean, still do. I listen to like Dr. Dre and The Chronic,
Oh, but that's
and
good.
I mean,
Like, the new
Snoop
stuff's
Dogg,
bad.
and yeah. I mean, so I love that. But the other, so that's a lighthearted one. But if you really knew me, then you would know that I'm deathly scared of failing, but I embrace failure because women always want to be perfect, or they try to shoot for perfection. And for me, it's progress over perfection. And sometimes you don't get progress unless you make some mistakes. And I think you learn more from your mistakes and your failures than you do your wins. And so the ultimate failure I'm scared of course, but those little ones that get me to a better place, I embrace, which is a bit of a contradiction, but
That's great.
That's a
I
good
think
one.
that's true with sport. Like I teach my kids that with sports, and I say that is, if you have a basketball team, if you win all your games, you will never find room for improvement. And it's not until you lose and you know how that feels. Like, oh, I don't like that. So you can motivate a whole team to, okay, well, if you don't like that, these are the things you need to be putting into place so you don't feel that failure. But you never know that you don't like that feeling until you fail.
right.
And then you never know. And for business, we're going to only progress when we don't like where we're at. If we're always comfortable, then, that comfort level never helps us be great.
Yeah.
We're only great when we don't like the feeling.
I mean, in the
failure.
startup world, I mean, especially in tech, I mean, there's this whole concept of failing up.
Yeah.
Failing up meaning like you make mistakes, you figure out what's working, you change, pretty quickly, and people give you money to fail up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's I mean, you really do learn a lot more from.
Yeah, I like that fail up.
And the best business protocols actually happen or are born when something went terribly wrong.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
Huge
I'm
opportunity.
sure I can speak to all of you, and we can, make bullet points of what we've instated in our businesses, and we didn't suddenly wake up one day in case FedEx doesn't arrive.
Right.
Right.
When FedEx didn't arrive, I realized this, so now we have to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
And why do you have a plan C? Because sometimes plan B doesn't work, but you only know that because it didn't work.
Because I've had to dig deep
Yeah.
for plan C.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. I was listening to Marie Forleo yesterday. She's an educator, one of those online educators. And she was saying that when you feel that fear that we all, and your fear to failure or whatever it is, that you're actually supposed to move towards that. That's the thing that's telling you, like, pick me. And I think we all do this whole thing where, where did we learn that fear was like this bad thing? It's like we want avoidance, right? Or not sleeping at night, which is my thing. Whatever it is that we do is as a reactive state towards this uncomfortable feeling.
Right.
She said, it was such a great way of saying it. She's like, no, that's when you know to move in that direction. It's telling you that. So maybe if we could all look at it differently, I don't know, that would help. But otherwise that fear can just
Paralyze you.
paralyze.
Well,
For
my
sure.
mom used to always say, fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is, it's not even there, really.
Right.
It's just something that you feel that would help motivate you and push you. But,
But it's a good thing. I mean, it is a good
Yeah.
thing
and then
sometimes.
my mom used to say, you know what? If you're afraid, do it afraid.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do it anyway.
What does it hurt? Just do it. Because I used to compete and all of that. And it's like, oh, I'm scared. She goes, well, if you're scared, if you're afraid, do it afraid.
Yeah, it helps you evaluate a situation. So, your head, as a planner, my head always has to go with, what if there's sideways freezing rain? Like, what if, you always have
So
to
true.
go,
Of course,
Everybody thinks about that.
but you have to, like, in every situation, you kind of have to take your head and, like, let it go there. What's this bad thing that could happen? And then it just kind of helps you evaluate it better and, know how to approach it, you know?
Absolutely. Thank you so
if we
much
knew
for being
you,
here.
though,
Oh,
wait.
I do this every time. I try to skip over it. Like people have heard. Okay, I cried like a baby the first time I did it, by the way, like bawling. So, and you can watch it. It's out there on YouTube. And so, just so you know, this won't be like as emotional. Okay, if you really knew me, you would know that this, like right here, is exactly who I am and all I care about. Yes, I care about business a lot too. I'm super, super into business. I love business. But to me, conversations and connection with the right people at our stage of life is like the most beautiful thing ever. And to be able to bring this gift into my own life in hopes that hopefully it's a gift to everybody else is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I'm in my happy place right now. And if you really knew me, you would know that I am on all the time, and I really don't stop very often. Very often when I go to yoga about twice a week. I stop, as you do in yoga, and tears just come because I realize I'm just not ever stopping. It's not that I'm not sad at all. I'm just like releasing all the stress from that day that I've just, and I have a feeling there's a few of you in here that are like that too. We just go.
Yeah.
So I go a lot.
But you're not supposed to cry at Disney movies and stuff.
Right.
I always
believe
cry
me.
at every movie. My kids think
we're soul
my kids
sisters.
think there's something really wrong with me. Like Snow Dogs, those dogs that A movie about the dogs, I cry all the time.
Yeah, but I think that's part of our stage and our age, and just being aware of life and its fragility, and just kind of capturing different moments that we just feel it. So, anyways, yeah, those are some good things.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Passion Dallas podcast mix-up, connecting our passion leaders. Check out our YouTube channel and watch the full version. And don't forget to look out for our next episode coming soon.